Sole control of the remote control.
Yeah, I don't think.
I love when that happens.
I know, right? See if anybody out there's listening and they can tell me if they can hear my microphone.
We don't do mic checks though,
Two
do we?
that aren't glowing.
Is it mine?
Randy's glowing now.
Oh, they're all glowing, except for number 1, just turned off. Oh, and number two is flickering, or 3 is flickering.
That was me. I just pushed it.
They're all brand new batteries today.
And the microphones are tight.
Okay, there's one. We'll see what happens. Okay, I get confirmation that they can hear me, so good.
Good.
Thank you.
Over down to 5. Now we're gonna
Okay. Call the meeting to order. I want to acknowledge that we are in the unceded traditional territory of the Upper Similkameen Indian Band. Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Councillor McLean, seconder. Councillor Gould. Any additions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Adoption of the October 4th, 2021 regular meeting of council minutes.
So moves, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Councillor Elliott and Councillor Willis. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. We'll go down to staff report, 6.1, development variance permit for 437 Parsons Avenue. Kerry.
So the applicant wishes to put a patio in the front yard of her property. I think the best page to show this to council is page 53 of your agenda. So she would like to have a front patio, having it covered in her front yard, and on the side have a swim spa, and it also be covered, connected to the front.
No, 53.
We don't have pictures.
Sorry, 53 doesn't exist.
Oh, sorry, 17.
Thank you.
You're way off.
I was
Yeah.
way off.
We're going.
Okay then.
5317.
Now we-
Page 17, sorry. I don't know where I got that from.
Okay.
So if you look at the picture, you can see in the dark gray, the area of where she wishes to put the front patio, and it wraps around to the side where she would like to have the swim spa. You can also see that this property is a weird shape. It also has roadways all the way around it. It's like its own little island sitting there. She has no room in the rear to put the patio. Not only that, is the views from the front. There's nothing in front of her at all. And so she's requesting of council a variance for the front yard setback to accommodate the cover for the patio. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Gould?
Is, from that same picture, is there an existing encroachment right now?
No, that's actually the driveway.
Okay.
The other thing that council should be aware of is the variance is to the property line, but she also has 9 feet of boulevard that she looks after that is part of our roadway. Because the road only is for her purpose, basically, I don't think there'd be any reason for us to be widening it, but she's not going into the roadway and she still has plenty of feet in front of that.
So the line dash, sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, go ahead.
The line dash is the
Property line.
property line, and then the, to the south of it, I guess, is the boulevard that she maintains.
Correct. It shows it better on page, these don't have pages on them. The next page,
So A101,
A201.
A201, okay.
You can see the dotted line, and then where the roadway is a darker gray, and then you can see where
Right.
there's plants and stuff along the front there.
Thank you.
Councillor McLean?
I look at this isolated island of a lot. I have no problems at all. I would recommend put forward
So,
motion to accept.
okay, so Councillor McLean is making the motion.
I would second that, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Willis is seconding the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Carried.
Let's just jump to it.
6.2, Green and Inclusive Community Building Grant Application, CAO.
Yes, we've discovered a new grant. It's a grant. It's a 5-year grant. It's $1.5 billion over 5 years, and so what we'd like to do is propose that we look at some renovations to our arena. This grant supports 80% of the funding to renovate with green initiatives. This program supports green retrofits, repairs, and upgrades to existing public community buildings. And so staff have kind of looked at the arena and thought, boy, you know, this is one of our older facilities, and there are a lot of things that we could take advantage of through this program. So we've looked at increasing the insulation in the roof, looking at solar panel array on the new roof, 2 new dehumidifiers. Our existing ones are over 40 years old, and then some to get away from combustion engine powered equipment. We'd look at a electric ice resurfacer and an electric edger. And the total cost of the project is about $1.1 million, and of course the town's share would be 20% of that. We look at the financial portion. You know, it's about $220,000 to be put into this next year's budget, and you know, we have identified areas that the money could be secured. One is we do have an arena reserve that we could draw from. Usually at the end of the year, there's a surplus that goes into general reserve. There's the future amenity fund, which we have set aside for the aquatic center, which would qualify for this project as well. We could open up discussion with the RDOS to see if they would be interested in participating. And we also have found that Fortis does have some nice rebates that we could also put towards the town's portion. So there's a number of things that we need to explore further, but we thought that it's important if council is in favor of it, that we get our grant application in early, because as we've seen, usually these things are quite well subscribed, and the funding does run out relatively quickly. So we thought we'd try and get a jump on it here.
Excellent. Questions? Councillor Elliott?
Just clarification, and I know you've said it, but I want to hear it again. The numbers you were throwing around, for example, the town's portion, 20% of, which would be about $220,000, that is based on if we get the grant.
Yes.
That's the only.
That's right.
Okay. all
Yeah,
right.
yeah. If we don't get the grant, then the project wouldn't move forward.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Councillor McLean?
Were there any of the items that you see being asked for already on an arena budget at all?
You know, well, the roof is something that we've wanted to sort of upgrade, and that's why we've been slowly putting money in reserve. Unfortunately, that reserve kind of goes up and down because there's been emergencies or equipment failures or whatever. So we saw this as an opportunity to kind of get a grant that would help us accomplish that roof upgrade. But now this Green Initiative program would not only replace the roof, but it would actually increase the R value to the ceiling, which we didn't budget for before. So
probably the answer to the question is all of the above.
yes,
Is in the-
that's the short answer. Yeah.
Right. I would so move this because I want my name on this.
Well, I think there was another question over here. I'm not going to let you do that again.
I agree, but I was just gonna say, anytime we have a chance of getting 80% paid for,
Yeah.
I think, you know, where there's upgrades needed for sure.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, but, is there anything, when you ask for that certain amount? You know, I remember before, right, we've asked, do you think that, do you think that's a lot to ask, or?
Well, you know, it's a very open-ended application process. They actually don't have any limitations. They only divide it into small grant amounts and large grant amounts. So this would fall into the category of a larger grant for sure. So we'll throw it in there and test the waters if council is interested.
Councillor Gould?
Just, is there any studies that we need to do in order to do our grant? Like, is there going to be a cost in order for us to apply?
You know, the time is perfect because we actually worked with the regional district, and actually we've done an energy audit study. So we use some of that information to put into the application. So we've been working on an application, now we just need to see if council's interested in doing it, so.
Excellent. And I'll just say, as somebody who worked at the arena for, a long time, this is exciting, the proposal. I mean, with the insulated roof, we can control the temperature in the arena better. We can possibly run a little bit longer too. That's always been a rough thing when we started in August, the heat coming off of the building. An electric edger is just, that's exciting. Every time we run the gas-powered one, we set off all the carbon monoxide alarms in the building, and you had to open up the doors and everything to air it out before a game. And same with the Olympia, replacing that with an electric is an awesome idea. We talked about it, 15 years ago, and it was just out of our price range at the time, but they've gotten so much better. And when you're busy with lots of tournaments, again, you're putting a lot of carbon monoxide into the building. So I love this. So Councilor McLean, you're making the motion?
Yeah, just before I do, was there any thought, does the regional area H not participate in?
Operationally, they do, but this is a capital expense, so we would want to make sure that we engaged in conversation with them. And it just that this sort of came up kind of quickly, and we decided that the staff felt that it's a good idea to jump on it, and then we can kind of work out some partnership arrangements after.
Perfect.
After the first reading of the budget, we send our numbers off to the financial director of the regional district. So
Okay.
it's good timing to make sure it gets put in for next year.
Thank you, so moved.
Thank you. Seconder?
That's me.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was a question or a second. Councilor Elliott, any questions on the question? All in favor? Perfect, thank you. It's council reports already. Let's start with Councilor Willis today.
I don't have any meetings to report right now.
Okay, Councilor Gould.
I was busy preparing for the 50-plus Impactful People of Princeton event that we hosted last Thursday at the airport, and once again, it was a success. The community was there to support it. The corporations in our community were there to support it, and we were able to grant out, I believe, was $36,000 to 5 fire departments. We ended up being able to include Hayes Creek and Eastgate, as well as also contribute $3,300 into our Princeton Community Fund. So I would say that is a success, and I thank everyone for supporting and for the town for allowing us to use that venue. And once again, it's an amazing view up there. So it's a perfect backdrop,
Perfect, thank you.
other than a plane landing.
Oh, I'm going to talk about that. Councilor McLean.
Just update on possibility situation where we have all our present players covered. However, we have hoping to bring in 2 more to fulfill the numbers that we run with. And so as a result of that, we're still looking for 2 more billet homes. But in all fairness, I have to thank the community for coming forward the way they have to this point. And, when you think about a small community, being able to provide that many homes, it's a real tribute to the people that they've come through so far. So, like I say, we're only looking for 2 more.
Great.
And hopefully.
Well, that's good news, thank you. Councilor Elliott.
As it turns out, my schedule's pretty quiet the first couple of weeks of the month. Probably next meeting I'll have a whole lot to tell you about, but I wanted to just mention that the Princeton Museum is hosting a strategic planning session on Wednesday this week, which I'm quite excited about participating in. We didn't have such an event when I was president of the museum because there was an existing document in place, so now it's time to update that. And so I think it's going to be a really good step and a good exercise for those of us who are going to participate. And I think you're going to be there as well, Mr. Mayor.
Plan on it.
Okay, and that's all I've got.
Thank you. I'll jump in first with the airplane. I got to attend the 50 Most Impactful, and it was a great event. Thank you for hosting that, and with the help of Kim and her team, and that was great. I want to thank the airplane that landed in the middle of my speech, and nobody was able to hear me. No, it was a great event and well-deserved for the recipients, so that's good. October 7th, along with the CAO and Kerry, we met with representatives of BC Housing to talk about potential projects in the community, and I believe it was a well received. We left there feeling pretty optimistic. So we're going to do follow-up in a week or so to find out what we need to do next and where we're at. Then on the 8th, through the regional district, I met with Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure and representative of AIM, and we talked about things like road clearing and doing the mowing on the side of the roads, and Director of Area H and myself had different concerns than the Okanagan. The Okanagan was concerned about fire and the risk of fire from mowing lawns or mowing the side of the roads, whereas we wanted it cut because you can't drive down some of the roadways, and we still had gravel on the road from the spring and it hadn't been cleaned up, and it just overall mess. What we did learn from that meeting was there are no requirements to stop mowing due to fire risk. So there was no requirement at the time. They made a decision with local representatives that it might be best to slow down or stop. So I've seen since then a mower in the community, and we have a follow-up meeting coming up, which I hope to get staff involved in as well, so we can talk about snow removal and all those wonderful things that we had issues with last year. So, and then on the 14th, I attended half of a meeting with Minister Osborne, Municipal Affairs, because Ed and I were out dealing with something else. We got a report earlier in the day about a gentleman sleeping on the riverbank down by the Twin River Park, so we went down there to see if the guy was okay, and took Sharon Ziske with us to see if we could offer some sort of support and see if the person needed something, and they didn't want to interact with us and whatnot. So we left them be and whatnot. But so I was late going to my meeting with Minister Osborne, and it just happened when I turned on my Zoom meeting, our Teams meeting, I guess it was my turn to speak, and I was like, I don't know what we're talking about. So she let me listen to a few, and then we came up, and one of the things we were supposed to talk about was what were the good things that we've been able to accomplish through COVID. So of course it talked about all the great things that were happening in the community, but what were the challenges, and that allowed me to bring up housing yet again, and this time again with another minister. And I explained to her the situation we have, and even though it's not her ministry, I did say I acknowledge that it's not your ministry, but she said that it is her responsibility and her ministry's responsibility to work with us to help try to find solutions. So just another good chance to hammer home that we need supportive housing, and we need seniors housing, we need low-income housing, we need affordable housing, and whatnot, and we need land opened up so that we can build more houses. So, and she was very receptive to that. So it was a good meeting, and it was a good time to do it, because we're not alone, and just happened that it was on that day. So and just a quick note that we're going into budget meetings November 8th and 9th, 9 to 4 at Riverside, and there will be public access with COVID rules in place. So see you guys up there then. That's the end of my council report.
Oh, can I just add one thing?
Yes, for sure.
Sorry, we collaborated, Kim English and myself from Community Foundations collaborated, and we decided that we're gonna pick the theme for next year already, and we've actually picked but health and wellness.
Excellent.
So we haven't picked our recipients at this time, but we do want to kind of, because the housing's an issue, but then there's also supports that are needed with both. So that's going to be the focus for next year's.
Excellent. 'Cause that's one of the things we brought up with the housing, the people with housing, is BC Housing actually has a stream of funding for health-related buildings. So I have to further investigate that with
You know, and
interior health.
it's different when you can have the buildings and you can build them and stuff, but it's servicing it, like, and that's Canala House, and it's getting the workers here in the community. So if there's a way that we can help with that too, we will.
Perfect. Okay, if nothing else, I'll move on. Correspondence receive and file. We have 2 letters, one from the Township of Langley and one from the Ministry of Education. And we have a motion, or a recommendation to receive and file 8.1 and 8.2.
I'll make that motion, Mr.
Councilor Gould, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Correspondence action requested. We have a letter from the Upper Smokeman Indian Band requesting a donation towards the annual Halloween fireworks display being held in Headley on October 31st. And I'll speak to that. We received an email letter that's in your package, I believe, from the Upper Smokeman Indian Band, and I think it would be a good gesture to donate $500 towards their fireworks display. We haven't been able to do any community to community lately, so it'd just be a good gesture of good faith between our community and theirs that we would help support a safe Halloween with their youth.
I have a question.
Yep.
What is our date for our
The night
fireworks?
before.
The night before, okay.
Yep.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Willis. Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you,
Sorry, I
Councillor
thought you
Gould.
were wanting to make that.
No. Any further comment? Councilor McLean?
I am absolutely opposed to spending taxpayers' dollars in other communities. I don't get it. When we collect taxes, we collect them to run a municipality and do other things that we're obliged to do. Spending money outside of our community or other people, no matter what, there's corporations and whatever you can raise money from. I just think that when the taxpayer pays his taxes, he's expecting to pay for costs and things that happen in our community, not somewhere else. End of my 2 cents worth.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Defeated.
I guess I should say a comment. I know it's done already,
Yep.
but just that point received with that.
Okay, so it was Gould and McLean. Okay, move on to the next one. I'll let you go.
I am going to excuse myself for perceived conflict because I'm a property owner adjacent to it.
Do you have any metal containers?
Oh, you can't talk about it or
I have a Skidoo container that has aluminum cans in it.
I want one too.
Okay, 10.1 shipping container zoning text amendment, bylaw number 10/10/21. Kerry?
Council's already given first, second reading to this bylaw in September. We did the required advertising in the paper, giving notice of waiving, holding a public hearing because it conforms to the OCP. We did internal referrals, and it came back from bylaw and our building department that we should add a new section to the bylaw. So that's what we've done. We've added subsection .7, which reads, use of metal shipping containers as accessory buildings must meet all relevant building, fire, and safety regulations. So we're asking council to give third reading as amended to this bylaw.
So moved.
Okay, Councillor McLean, seconder. Councillor Elliott, questions? All in favor? Carried. Can somebody go get Councillor Gould? 10.2, permissive tax exemption report. James?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is final adoption for a bylaw that was already passed 3 readings. I was required to go to public notice in the newspaper, which it has for 2 consecutive articles, and we've received no input from the public on this bylaw. We're asking that council approve final reading today.
Any questions? Motion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
I'll
Seconded.
second.
Counselor Gould. Questions on the motion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. No new business. Takes us to agenda conclusion. Motion to close. Recommendation of the meeting be closed to the public for the purpose of considering the following: 90.1A, personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position of officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality, and 90.1E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land improvements, or if the council considers disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gould. Councillor Willis. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.